Hey everybody, and welcome to a very spontaneous vlog this morning. As hopefully some of you will know, and most of the time when I'm out in the mornings with the dog, we are doing lives. So hopefully you've seen those on the channels. But Thursday I usually give myself the day off, but this morning I wanted to just do a little vlog. There is the lovely Azra, who some of you may know from the lives. And as I say, we are live normally. Go on, Azra, good girl. We are normally live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. We normally have Tuesdays and Thursdays off. So I guess the reason I was doing a vlog this morning is twofold. I've got a new editing suite that I wanted to have a play around with. So I thought I need to do some sort of vlog to have a play around with that. And of course the second thing is obviously just pardon me, sort of share with you obviously what's happened this week, as to why there hasn't been the lives. Come on, Ezra. This week. So Sunday night, eating dinner as normal. Spotted piece of meat, probably a bit bigger than should have. Sort of realised straight away, I think, that it had gone down a bit awkwardly, but I wasn't joking, so as far as I was concerned it was alright, although I did feel the need to try and bring it back up again, so I was trying to make myself sick, trying to bring it back up with no luck. During the night I sort of had quite a lot of chest pain, sort of around my sternum area, and I thought maybe it's just where it's gone down. It's caught the sides of my sort of windpipe, throat. See how it is in the morning. Got up on Monday morning, not feeling great, but well enough that I thought we'll go out and do the Monday live as we do. If you listen to that live, just bear with. If you watch that live on Monday, you'll hopefully, well, from the point of view of watching it, I think you'll appreciate what I mean, but I was very sort of raspy. Go on, Azra, lead on. Good girl. Very raspy. You could hear my breathing wasn't great, and I knew something wasn't right. I think that's what I'm trying to allude to. And in fact, I cut I cut the live short because I just wanted to get home. So got in and said to Julia, something's not right here. I'm going to take myself to A&E because I really don't feel well. We agreed that that was the right decision, but in the end Julia said, no, I'll come with you. Make sure you get there okay. We're both very lucky in our workplaces that we don't have idiots as bosses, and if something like this happens, you know, we've both worked in places where people would just, you'd have to be dead before they'd let you have time off. I mean, it was that sort of bad. Come on, Ezra, leave it. Anyway, so we arrived in A&E at 6:15 on Monday morning, and I was seen by the sort of triage nurse very quickly. and obviously went through everything. Tried not to miss anything out, as you do. There we sat probably, I'm not going to fib to you guys, I think for about 2.5 hours. I then got approached by another nurse, just confirming had I drunk any coke to try and burp it back up again. Of course they've got to ask. We had said this sort of first thing when we got there, so that was that. Then got called to have one of these, is it a cannula put in on your arm, in case they needed to take any bloods or drip or anything. And then again, we then were just sort of sitting down waiting, and I must say guys, I was getting a bit frustrated. It did say at one point the wait was 5.5 hours. Well, it's a difficult one because obviously, and I'm fully aware how A&E works, excuse me, still got loads of gas from the whole ordeal, to be honest with you. But I finally got seen, we got seen by a junior doctor actually. Again, nothing wrong, she was a lovely girl, asked all the right questions. She asked all the right questions, and obviously she relayed that to the sort of proper doctor, whatever you want to say. And they both agreed. I'd had a chest ray, sorry, I forgot that bit. I'd had a chest ray in between this, and they said there was nothing coming back from the chest x-ray. They're taking some bloods when they put the old cannula thing in, so that was done. They then said they were going to send me up to another ward because they wanted someone from the gastro department to come and see me, because there was definite thought that there was still something stuck in my throat, and they were talking about putting a camera down my throat. So we were moved to another ward. Again, seemed to be there for ages, not a lot happening. Then finally, it was probably lunchtime by about this point, and the trolley came round with that sort of food, so quite hungry. So I thought, right, what's easy to go down? Because at that point I was still sort of struggling a little bit, and I forgot exactly at what point we were at, guys, but I think I was on the ward waiting for the gastro person to come. I just want to pan around and show you what a lovely sunrise we've got this morning. Beautiful. Anyway, oh yeah, that's right, chose a tuna sandwich. I thought it was quite soft to go down. Unbeknownst to me, and no one had said, when the gastro bloke came, which was probably about 1:30, something like that in the end. So bear in mind, I've been there since 6:15 at this point, so it felt like an eternity. Anyway, he obviously said, I feel it's not obviously a full blockage, which I think we can all establish that was clearly the case. Otherwise I'd probably be dead. Go on, Ezra, lead on. But he said he felt something was probably lodged somewhere, and the correct decision would have been to have done the camera. However, because you've eaten, we can't now do a camera until tomorrow. And I just said, well, if someone had said, to which he agreed, we wouldn't have had anything to eat. As it was a struggle to eat it. Anyway, that was sort of my biggest frustration, because that would have avoided obviously all the shenanigans that therefore happened after. So he then said, right, well, two options. You can either stay in overnight we'll do the camera in the morning, or you can go home and we'll get you into an outpatient clinic. And I sort of, you know, with him there, I said to Julia, we need to get this over and done with, because if there is a problem, we need to get it sorted out. In 2 weeks' time, all sorts of problems could have happened. Again, to which the consultant absolutely agreed, but you had to give both options. So he then said, right, we'll have to move you to an overnight ward. Now guys, I'll say from the outset, I have never had to have an overnight stay in a hospital in my life. Now, Julia, when she broke her leg, obviously did, and she told me some pretty horrible stories about some of these wards, and unfortunately, you know, some of the people that are in. And when I say horrible, I mean sad. You know, there are people in there that are very poorly, have obviously got issues, and Julia, like me, probably brought the age of the ward down probably by about 20 to 25 years, because when I went onto this ward, I would say the youngest in there was clearly me at 45. The next one probably early 70s, mid 70s probably. I heard someone say they were 74, and he was probably the youngest one in there, I would suggest. So yeah. So as I say, I was up on the overnight ward. I think I finally got up there around 6 o'clock, to be fair. So coming up 12 hours from when we started. It's obviously getting into the overnight ward. Now again, by that time they obviously knew I was nil by mouth, but they then obviously had the message that I wasn't going to have the camera to the following morning, so I was actually officially nil by mouth as of 8 p.m. That night. So they said, "You've missed dinner, but do you want anything?" And I sort of said, well, I'm really struggling to keep things down. You know, we got anything sort of soft? Which the only things they had was yoghurt. So I said, right, well, can I have a couple of strawberry yoghurts then? And a drink, orange juice, whatever, which they all bought me. Absolutely fine. Julia and James bought some supplies, very kindly. And then, guys, it got to about 10 o'clock, and I think sort of the lights went out and most people were sort of resting. You've got to bear in mind, most of the people that are in there were pretty poorly, so they were just sort of flaking out. You know, in myself, I felt okay, apart from sort of the pain in my chest. So from that point of view, I thought, I got Julie to bring my iPad so I could watch some stuff and not have to listen to what was going on around me, to be honest with you. Anyway, 10 o'clock till 4 a.m, almost every hour, they were coming round checking everyone, making sure everyone was sort of still alive and kicking and all that sort of stuff, which is obviously their job. But then, unfortunately, there was a couple of incidents. I won't tell you about one of them because it's pretty gross. I think you can imagine. The other one, the guy was having a row with 3 different nurses about saying he'd knew that they'd stolen some money and his phone. Now clearly he wasn't a well chap, and he didn't know what day of the week it was, and in fact the following day he and one other were being sent home, and both these old chaps said, well, we've got nothing to go home for, there's nobody there for us. And I just think it's so sad, and this is what I was going to come on to. I just think it's so sad, you know, some of the people out there that, you know, don't have a family and you know, I don't know about friends, you know, who knows, but, you know, family directly that can sort of look after them and stuff like that. And they rely on the district nurses. But one of them said no one goes in to see him or anything. He was literally left to deal with things himself. And I just thought, you can barely get out of bed by yourself. How can you be left in this situation? And I just hope I'm never in that situation, or anyone I know is in that situation, because it's just horrendous. You know, it really is horrendous. And I will say now, and I said it on my update yesterday, actually, that these nurses and doctors, at times they have a thankless job. I know the end game is to get people better, maybe that is their light at the end of the tunnel, I guess. But some of the grief that they have to take, well, they've got the patience of saints. I really, and a big shout out to these guys and girls, because I don't think there's a lot of people, including myself, that could take that sort of abuse day in, day out. I mean, I worked in the motor trade in a main dealer sort of for 20-25 years, and some days I'd leave, I think, Jesus Christ, that customer was a complete nutter, you know what. But it didn't happen every day and relentlessly, you know. These guys and girls, alright, it was only from maybe there were 6 people on the wall, and half of them were really giving quite a lot of grief, actually. You had me, one other, and another chap who basically we just didn't say anything apart from when we were spoken to by the doctors or the nurses. Really, we were just sort of keeping ourselves to ourselves. And yeah, just a big thanks to them, but also much respect, I think, to anyone that does that job, and also anyone that's been in one of these wards and has experienced what I experienced. It's just a horrendous experience, and it sticks with you. It really does stick with you. Unfortunately. So yeah, following morning, got up. The first lot of doctors came around to see me and said, "How are you feeling?" I said, actually, the pain in my chest, which is where it was primarily, seems to have gone. And although I still feel my throat is very sore, very raspy, very sort of scratchy, in myself, I feel absolutely fine. So they sort of said, okay, we'll get the specialist to come and see you, have a chat, see what they think. And he came quite quickly. I was very surprised. He came to see me and sort of said, what's the situation? Pushed down on my chest in places, all that sort of stuff. And sort of said, I genuinely think it's dislodged itself overnight. And I said, okay. At that point, he sort of said to me, I'd speak to the department where the camera is going to be done and see what they want to do, because it's obviously not a very nice thing to have done, this camera. He then came back. No, he didn't come back. The normal nurse on the wall came back and said to me, "What do you want for breakfast?" And I said, "I thought I was having this camera. That's the last thing I knew." "No, they don't think it's worth you having it now, as long as you keep your breakfast down." Right. So they said they've recommended you have some Weetabix, if you'll eat that, and also some brown toast. Weetabix, because obviously it's quite soft to go down, and toast because it's a bit more substantial, a bit harder, and we'll soon know. Fine, I'll do what you suggest. And obviously that's what we did. And the good news was, obviously it stayed down. So the nurse came back, and the main nurse with the doctor came back and checked me and said, "Oh great, you've had it all, how are you feeling?" I said, "Fine." She said, "Right, we'll give it a few hours, make sure you keep it down, make sure you've got no ill effects, and then we will look at getting you on your way. So I thought, excellent. Hopefully be out of here, by lunchtime. By this time, guys, I'd had enough. And I know, obviously, when I went in there, I was feeling pretty rough. But by this point, and obviously with everything I've told you about the overnight, and that's probably only really a snippet of what happened overnight. I just want to go home. So got to about 11 o'clock, so that's 2 hours after I had my later breakfast to everyone else. Just want to show you this very quickly. Beautiful sunrise again this morning. I'm very lucky and get that every single morning. So about 11 o'clock, I thought, right, I'm going to go and find one of the nurses, just sort of find out what's happening. I went and said to her, it's been a couple of hours. They did say I could go home if everything was alright, feels alright, everything's staying down. Adra. So she said, right, okay, someone's on the nurse who does all the discharging. He's on a course until about 11:15, something like that. So wait till she comes back. She said, but in the meantime, I'll take your catheter out. So I thought, great. Well, at least that's one. I think that they're quite. Although obviously they're these, I think, sort of plastic needles now. They're still quite a pain in the backside to have in your arm. I mean, bear in mind I had it in overnight because I was on a drip from about 2 o'clock the following day. The day previous, sorry. So, Ashra, come on. Lead on, good girl. So yeah, I had it on until 3:30 in the morning, where that's when they came round and took it off. And of course it was, complete relief once that was taken off. I could sort of turn over, toss and turn as I needed to try and get somewhere near comfortable, but I was never comfortable, guys, ever. Anyway, so it got to about midday, still no one had come to see me. And again, I don't assume that they're only there for me or even that ward. So obviously I just went and said to her again, look, said any update, because I need to ring my wife to let me know when to come and pick me up. The doctor's nurse who came out to see me in the morning came and saw me and said, hey, are you okay? Yes. She said, right, well, you don't need to wait for the exit letter, you can go. And I said, I'll just show you this very quickly. Ashra's horsey friend. And that was probably about 1 o'clock at that point. What a relief when they said you can go. So I obviously made sure I had all my stuff. I'd already got everything packed in a bag anyway, because I think I've been ready to go since about 11 o'clock, to be honest with you. I'd had enough by that point. Anyway, rang Julie. She said she probably couldn't come for about half an hour, 45 minutes. I was so hungry, guys. So I went and got some chips from Burger King and a drink, and obviously just ate those slowly whilst I was waiting for Julia to come. Got home in the end around 2, something like that. I can't quite remember exactly what time we got home. These times I'm giving you a bit loose, but thereabouts. And apart from sort of still, even today being Thursday, so 48 hours after being sort of let out, give or take, my throat still feels sore and scratchy, but obviously I feel absolutely fine. Still eating, still quite gassy and get bloated out. Obviously It would have been nice had they sort of said it, like these are some of the things you might expect until you're fully up to speed. But no, there wasn't any of that. So from that point of view, I assume it's all normal. So you'll have to see how it goes. But for now, obviously feeling a lot better. So I think in conclusion, really guys, I think this is just an update vlog, really, let you know obviously what happened, because I did sort of a little update yesterday which was only sort of scratching the surface. I wanted to do this vlog anyway. I was going to do it regardless of new editing stuff. Also, as I said, I wanted to try my new editing suite. You know, and people have sort of messaged directly and sort of said, how are you, feeling, stuff like that. So I wanted just to do a vlog to let people know. And finally, I guess the last one, and probably the most important actually, is just giving a shout out to you know, the guys and girls, as I've already said, you know, at the NHS campus at Addenbrooke's in Cambridge. You know, what a difficult job you've got, and my respect for you went up many times with that overnight stay. And as I say, you sort of hear stories from people and you don't quite always sort of believe what you hear. No, I don't think that's necessarily the right thing, but you can't think, oh, it can't be that bad. But you know, I don't think I was unlucky. I think that ward was a pretty sort of standard sort of situation, you know, for people of that sort of situation. As I say, I was by far the youngest in there, and yeah, these guys and girls, they've got a tough job. And as I say, a shout out and much respect to them as well. I think I was in EAU 5, and if anybody from there does watch this, you've got my respect, because you've got a tough job, and thank you for looking after me and making sure I was all right. I think I was a pretty good patient actually, guys, to be honest with you. I don't think I gave them any grief. And even when I was asking questions on the Tuesday, I was always very respectful, because I just wanted to understand what was happening. You know, in myself, I felt like I could go and they could get another bed to move on to the next person. There's always someone worse off than you, and I think that's sort of what I was getting out, as well as obviously getting the hell out of there as well. So as I say, big thanks to them, much respect, because I do think they've got a very tough job. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap this one up, because I've been talking far too long and I'm quite dry now. I do need to get home and have a drink, but as I said, I wanted to do this for the reasons I said above. Thanks for all of your concern. We'll hopefully be back live, being Friday. I'm going to try and get this one out tonight, so it will make sense in the right order. So yeah, hopefully some of you join me for the live in the morning, Friday, and yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.